My name is Jessica Brown. I am on my way to the wedding of my high school classmate, Michelle. I had been looking forward to seeing my dearest friend on her special day for a long time. Upon arriving at the nearest station to the venue, a station attendant was waiting at the exit, and when the doors opened, he kindly said, "Please watch your step," and placed a ramp to bridge the gap between the train and the platform. I had been living in a wheelchair my whole life due to a congenital disability. I wheeled myself manually and proceeded to the ticket gates with the guidance of the station attendant. Then, it happened. A young man in a suit, seemingly in a rush, perhaps due to an important meeting, ran with great speed, eyes on his wristwatch. He almost bumped into me, who was nearby, unnoticed, and shouted, "Whoa!" I asked, "Are you okay?" But he retorted, "Get out the way," and hurried down the stairs to the platform. Despite being Michelle's wedding day, my mood turned sour. I'm the one who knows best that I'm a hindrance to society. I have lived a life constantly exposed to curious gazes, experiencing more inconveniences than an average person. However, the silver lining in my life was being loved by my parents. My dad bought a large van to accommodate my wheelchair and took me to various places. And my mom was my greatest confidant, always encouraging me to share my feelings and concerns with her. I truly feel fortunate to be their child. Nevertheless, the handicap of being disabled was significant. Since elementary school, I had been attending special needs classes where students with various disabilities gathered. Some couldn't speak. Some had hearing impairments. Some were blind. Each had their challenges. Some students were very unruly. It was somewhat a chaotic class, as I remember. But being in a space with such classmates felt comfortable. To me, the biggest adversaries during my school days were, ironically, the regular class students who could walk freely.
Whoa, a wheelchair.
She can't walk.
Since the special support class and the regular class were in different buildings, we hardly ran into each other in the hallways. But our shoe lockers were right next to each other. So around the time of arriving and leaving school, I always heard whispers from afar while I'm changing my shoes, sitting in my wheelchair.
Why does she need to change shoes if she can't walk?
She can actually walk, right? Must be nice. Riding around every day. Looks fun.
I was fed up with such unfounded prejudices. I wanted to shout that I wanted to walk and run, just like everyone else. So I immersed myself in reading novels to escape reality. Reading novels was the only time I felt at peace. Thus, a novel has always been in my bag, sort of my only hobby. Let's forget about what just happened. I shook my head vigorously, trying to shake off the words of the man who had spoken harshly to me at the station platform. I should be used to being treated as hindrance. Even for me to go to a wedding, I need to inform the station when I arrive, and cooperation from station attendants is necessary. Even the things average people can do casually require a lot of effort from various people when I do them. In other words, I'm always aware that I'm living by causing trouble to various people. It felt like carrying a lifetime of guilt for being alive. Of course, there are kind people, but there are also those who look at me with annoyed eyes, and like that man earlier, people who say, "You're in the way." Don't mind those people, some say. But I can't help but think that's the opinion of people who can do everything by themselves. Nonetheless, to preserve my sanity, I decided not to mind them. It's finally Michelle's wedding day. I want to bless her with a smile. Thinking this, I force a smile and enter the venue. The venue is filled with photographs of Michelle and her husband. All their smiles are so warm and lovely, it's heartwarming. I wonder how a bride feels. Michelle is about to become a mother. With such thoughts, I become more and more emotional. I met Michelle back in high school. I had been in special support classes until middle school, but entered general classes in high school. There were curious gazes there too. But Michelle, who happened to sit next to me, spoke to me openly. Even a shy girl like me was able to open up to her quickly.
Hey, Jessica,
Let's watch a romance movie at the theater next time.
I was happy when Michelle invited me like that. However, I looked down at the wheelchair I was on. If I go out to have fun, would it be a bother to others? Such anxiety attacked me. But Michelle said, "It's okay." I checked around town, and I found a theater that's fully accessible. If anything happens, I'll take responsibility. Trust me. And she patted her chest reassuringly. She didn't find me a bother. Instead, she said she would support me. This was the first time someone said something like that to me. And I was so happy I almost cried. Having been exposed to curious gazes for a long time, I somehow knew how I was perceived by others, but from her, I felt she genuinely wanted to just talk. That's why we became good friends quickly. Thanks to her becoming my friend, I was able to enjoy my high school life. Remembering such moments with Michelle, I proceeded to the back of the venue. Then, it was time for the ceremony, and I headed there, wheeling my wheelchair, but the attendees there sent me distant gazes. As always, I pretended not to mind and lined up at the back of the seats. Then, the groom's side of attendees became noisy.
Man, you're a writer for real. That's awesome, Nicholas.
Come on, call me by my pen name, Adrian Ward. I'm the future genius novelist. Lucky for you guys to have a celebrity as a friend.
Some nouveau-rich-looking guy with long bangs flapping was laughing snobbily. It seems that he is a novelist, and I recognized the name Adrian Ward. If I recall correctly, he won the special jury prize at a newcomer award last year. So, he's Adrian Ward, I thought, staring at him. Winning an award is indeed great, but I think he hasn't made his novelist debut yet. And yet, acting like a big shot. "I'm going to surpass the soaring genius author, Milo White," he said loudly. Probably he's bragging about winning a prize, making sure everyone hears. By the way, Milo White is an author gradually becoming famous since some of her books have been adapted into movies. It's fine to have ambitions, but I wish he considered the surroundings as well. I sighed quietly so he wouldn't hear. Finally, the ceremony began, and the groom made his entrance. And then, the main event, the bride appeared. Michelle's wedding dress was really beautiful, and I was mesmerized. Her mother was next to her, shedding tears at her daughter's shining moment. Seeing that made me cry too. Michelle, covered in a white veil, found me and mouthed, "Thank you." I also mouthed back, "Congratulations." I felt I received happiness from Michelle, and my heart was full. However, I unexpectedly experienced a tragedy. It was on the way to the reception venue. I was wheeling so as not to bother anyone, but as I tried to enter the venue, I found a small step and stopped my wheelchair. What to do? I wish someone could push me, but there were no staff around, and I was at a loss. Then laughter from a man echoed from behind. I have to hurry inside. Thinking so, I forcefully propelled my wheelchair, aiming to overcome the step with momentum. However, by the time I exclaimed, "Oh," it was already too late. The wheel caught hopelessly on the step, and I, along with my wheelchair, was thrown sideways. From behind, I could hear the men letting out frustrated sighs saying, "Oh well," and I could feel my face going pale. I had fallen right at the entrance, completely blocking the way. I'm so sorry. I'll move immediately." I apologized, trying to hastily lift myself. But lifting my upper body with just the strength of my arms was all I could manage. And the fallen wheelchair was unmanageable in such a situation. The people behind just watched me struggle, looking plainly annoyed.
What's her deal? Why is she here?
She really doesn't belong here.
Can't deal with disabled people.
Whispers like these pierced through my heart, like needles. "I'm sorry. So sorry." I kept apologizing and was trying to do something when, "Hey there," a loud voice made me flinch. It was Nicholas, the friend from the groom's side, also known by his pen name. Adrian Ward, who bragged about being a novelist.
You can't do it alone, can you? Your legs don't work, right? Quickly call the staff, loudly. It's causing a backlog.
Holding back tears, I could only respond, yes. Then, noticing the commotion, staff rushed to me, and with their help, I finally managed to get back into my wheelchair.
Really disrupting the flow of the group. Truly inconvenient and a nuisance.
Nicholas clicked his tongue and threw such words at me. Led by him, the men who bad-mouthed me also entered one by one.
Oh, the venue is this way.
A staff member stopped me as I tried to go in the opposite direction from the entrance. I'm sorry. My dress is a mess, so I'm leaving, I said with a forced smile. I had caused discomfort to the friends of the groom, important people to Michelle, due to my fall. It was an act that smeared my friend's reputation. I was hurt, but simultaneously, guilt crept in. The shock, nonetheless, overwhelmed me, and I sneaked into the restroom and cried silently. How much time had passed? The reception must have started, and the bride and groom must have made their entrance by now. Feeling somewhat more calm, I left the restroom. I had seen Michelle in her wedding dress. I should leave to avoid being a nuisance any longer. I've lived to avoid causing inconveniences to society like this. Then, pushing my unusually heavy wheelchair, I reached near the exit. That's when
Jessica, Jessica.
my name was called out loudly, so I turned around, wondering who could it be. And I was surprised. Michelle running towards me, holding the hem of her wedding dress. Hey, Michelle, you could fall running like that. I fretted seeing her almost trip, but Michelle, catching her breath, grabbed my hand. Michelle, it's your wedding reception now, isn't it? If the main person leaves. I said, but she replied, I don't care about that. Then the groom came running with a puzzled expression. Looking closely, Nicholas and the others who had bad-mouthed me also came running, saying, What? Not good. It's becoming a big deal. I was distracted by them, but my gaze immediately returned to Michelle, who had started crying at some point.
Why are you leaving, Jessica?
Seeing my best friend's tears, I realized the gravity of what I had done. From her perspective, she must have been filled with anxiety, since I left halfway. Well, I turned my gaze towards Nicholas and his companions. Then, these guests were saying they don't want any disabled people here. One of the staff blurted out, causing both me and Nicholas's group to be shocked.
What? Hey, you? How dare a staff member have such an attitude?
Nicholas said with wide eyes, but the staff member avoided eye contact. Even though they were the guests of the other party, she stood up for me. And then, hearing this, Michelle showed a face like a demon in the next moment.
Don't want any disabled people. Enough with the ridiculous remarks.
At Michelle's shout, Nicholas and his companions stiffened.
Do you realize how much this girl has been apologizing, living subserviently to others, always being considerate of others, blaming herself because she can't do anything alone? Since birth, she has lived like that. How can you say words like nuisance to such a person?
Michelle broke down, crying on the spot. My heart was filled with regret for ruining the bride's face, which should be the happiest in her lifetime at the wedding. Michelle was crying and getting angry for me. But I, thinking of myself as a nuisance friend to Michelle, tried to distance myself from her. Michelle, seeing that I always live feeling guilty to others, kept telling me, I want you to live more confidently. Do what you want to do. Such a kind girl would never think of me as a nuisance. Thank you, Michelle, for always being on my side. I wiped her tears with my handkerchief. Then, Michelle's husband stepped in front of Nicholas and his group.
I never thought you guys would be so shameless. Apologize to Jessica right now. If you can't apologize, I'll return all your gifts and ask you to leave. I will cover the travel expenses.
Indeed, he is the person acknowledged by Michelle. He scolded them assertively, although they are important friends, enough to be invited to the wedding. I was happy with that feeling. Then, I am sorry for saying rude things like nuisance. One after another started apologizing to me. But here, Nicholas snapped. I was invited and came all this way.
People in wheelchairs are just beggars who do nothing to contribute to society but receive tax money.
Everyone was dumbfounded at those words that seemed to lost the human rationale, but Nicholas was getting more and more aggressive.
I'm such a genius that I can win awards if I write novels. Everyone talks to me with a disrespectful attitude.
But here, Michelle said, "Genius, don't make me laugh. Third-rate writer," and started laughing scornfully, making Nicholas's face turn even redder.
What?
So, when is your novel getting published?
Well, about that.
If you want to brag about winning an award, then become an author like Mila White, who won the grand prize 4 years ago, before you talk big. Well, you'll never become an author like Mila White anyway. I've met her before, and the caliber of a person she is different from you. People living mediocre lives. Like you can't write a good novel.
You just keep talking. And for the record, you've been acting like you know Mila White. Cut it out with the lies. There's no way you could have met such an amazing author.
I have met her. She's right in front of us.
At Michelle's words, Nicholas made a dumbfounded face. And then, he directed that face towards me. It was because I was the one Michelle was pointing at when she said, "She's right in front of us."
You're the Mila White.
Well, yes. I'm a full-time writer. And my pen name is Mila White.
You were a judge in last year's novel competition, right?
Yes, that's why I knew your name, Mr. Adrian Ward. But I didn't vote for you because I found it rather uninteresting. I'm sorry. Upon hearing this, Nicholas seemed so shocked that he was almost foaming at the mouth.
Now do you get it? This girl is contributing enough to society? Well, according to your logic. But I'll continue to be friends with Jessica, even if she's not a great author. It's fine if she isn't great. I love her just the way she is. I can tell it's a failure even before reading a book written by a shallow person like you, who decides people's value based on how much tax they pay, or how much influence they have on society.
After spatting out to him one last time, Michelle glared at Nicholas with razor-sharp eyes, and he seemed so embarrassed that he ran away. For now, this commotion seems to have subsided, and I'm relieved. Then I quickly said, "Michelle, you can't keep everyone waiting forever." And Michelle puffed her cheeks a little and hugged my face with both hands.
Why did you leave in the middle? If something's bothering you, you should have talked to me right away. We're best friends.
I apologized to Michelle, saying, I'm so sorry." Then, in a flustered manner, Michelle's husband responded, "No, all the fault is mine. I'm truly sorry, my friend." And so I hastily said to him, "No, it's all in the past now." At that moment, the surrounding people started to murmur.
What, Mila White? Isn't she the famous person from that romance novel?
It's becoming a movie soon. Awesome.
I wonder if I can get an autograph.
I, being a masked author who doesn't reveal my face, hadn't expected everyone to be surprised and look at me with eyes full of respect. Learning that Mila White is a person in a wheelchair. Even the men, who had belittled me, did so. Thinking that being bombarded with questions would be bothersome, I told Michelle, let's go back to the reception. She and her husband seemed delighted. Thus, I was able to see my best friend's joy-filled smile until the very end, through her cake cutting, and her tear-filled messages of gratitude to her family. Since then, I've been getting along well with Michelle and her husband. Her husband was actually a fan of my novels, and said it was a real honor to meet me.
But if you are such a great author, you should have retorted to that bragging Nicholas.
When he said that, Michelle responded, "Jessica has always been a shy person, but that's okay. I love her just the way she is, remaining humble no matter how great a writer she becomes." Saying that, Michelle came in for a hug, to which I gave a wry smile and responded, "I'm not great or anything." By the way, the Mila in Mila White was named by Michelle. I had shared my dream of becoming a novelist with Michelle, my one and only best friend. I couldn't consult my parents, thinking they would oppose due to the tough world of writing, but she supported me. Thanks to her, I was able to talk to my parents and am now able to write books. Michelle has a significant presence in my life.
When you find a wonderful husband, you better invite me to your wedding.
My best friend's words made me nod in agreement. Actually, my editor recently confessed he likes me. I'm still pondering over his proposal, but somehow the scene of walking down the aisle with him comes to my mind. If I could marry him, I'd want to contact my best friend right away